Over a decade of complete incompetence at the White House and Capitol Hill has left the United States in a terrible economic situation. The Obama administration was left with the worst overall economy since the 1930s, one which is consistently over budget and under-regulated. In 1993, the United States carried a modest $65 billion trade deficit. In 2006 and 2007, the U.S. trade deficit was well over $700 billion. And in 2008, despite severe recession-driven contraction, the trade deficit still stood at a robust $677 billion. In each of the past 3 years, the U.S. trade deficit for a given month has surpassed that of the entire year, 1993. This deficit presents the most danger to the United States in terms of its long-term growth and stability. Over the past 15 years, the deficit has sapped trillions of dollars out of the American economy, driving down domestic growth and propping up the economies of our overseas competition instead of our homegrown industries. Nonetheless, the trade deficit is the easiest problem to fix. Over 90% of the deficit is derived from Chinese imports and foreign oil. If the government took action to stop the flood of Chinese goods or wean the United States from foreign oil, we could solve one of the biggest dilemmas facing the U.S. today. By increasing fuel economy standards and placing tariffs and quotas on Chinese manufactured goods, we could stamp out the deficit and return to profitability as a nation. The United States also has no legitimate energy policy. We have sold off much of our nuclear energy capabilities to overseas conglomerates in the past 30 years, as Americans became obsessed with the alleged risks of atomic energy. We've made ourselves increasingly dependent on oil and coal to drive our electrical and transportation grids, in spite of the fact that the rest of the world has emphasized renewable alternatives for over a generation. The U.S. is also dealing with a financial system which has been allowed to run itself into the ground, as the government shied away from involvement in its ridiculous pursuit of laissez-faire economics. Our Wall Street system went from a sound investment tool to a grand Ponzi scheme in just over 1 decade. The stock markets saw their listed values skyrocket as corporations found new and clever ways of jerry-rigging the system to their own benefit. Investors thought that they were making money hand over fist, but in actuality, they were just paying into the greed machine, which would soon leave them with almost nothing. The Obama administration cannot be blamed for the current crisis. They had little to do with it. Barack Obama was not even a major public official when the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan kicked off, nor did he have much to do with the original deregulation of Clinton and Bush nearly 10 years ago. However, the new administration can be blamed for its poor prosecution of this crisis. Instead of using the crisis and the federal handouts as a mandate to demand affirmative change, they are simply asking for a mulligan, a do-over, so they can continue on without changing anything. The government gave billions to U.S. automakers. It could have told them to increase fuel economy 50% in the next 4 years, or else. They gave billions to banks and financial institutions, yet they are shocked and appalled by the way that money is being spent. They could have dictated how every dime was spent in the financial institutions. They gave billions in tax rebates to the American people, only to watch the money funneled overseas on foreign imports of oil and Chinese goods. The government could have given out billions of dollars worth of certificates to be used on domestic goods. That would have actually spurred our economy. Instead, we gave our money to the Chinese government and to Middle Eastern oil tycoons, who in turn revved up their programs to buy out our remaining assets. We need people in government who are willing to actually take the place of leadership, not just people who want to take credit for doing nothing. The policies of this administration may lead to marginal economic growth in time for their 2011 target, but this so-called victory will be short-lived, because we failed and continue to fail to take initiative and fix the problems. They are still there, dragging us down. On behalf of concerned citizens, I'm Craig Harrington. For more on this and other related topics, please log on to economyincrisis.org.
America, open up your eyes. Wake up, America, wake up.
Produced by economyincrisis.org.